Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. Guess what, folks? Happy New Year! I trust that everybody brought in the new year with success. I hope all made their wishes, all this created those New Year's resolutions, etc., etc., etc. Well, you know what? I brought it in a quiet fashion with the family. Took a little brindis, tomamos una brindis, and after that was done, guess what? It was time to get busy and start preparing for the new year. This is going to be a long year, a tough year, but you know what? Let me tell you something, folks. It's going to be a successful year because we are not going to ask for anyone to make this a successful year for us. We are going to make this year successful. We will be proactive. Before I get started with the program, I want to remind all of you to invite all of you to our website, kpft.org. Again, our website is kpft.org. Visit it frequently. If you have a few extra coins, don't forget this is community radio and we can only stay alive as long as we have your support. So don't forget to go to kpft.org, hit that donate button. And the more folks donate during these when we start the program or, during these different days of the program, the less amount of time we'll spend in fund drives. Okay, I got that out of the way, asking you to go to kpft.org and donate. Topic of the show today is Humane Democracy Will Die with 1,000 Cuts as we further monetize survival. You like that title? If you like that title and you think, you know what it's going to be about? Give me a call, 713-526-5738. Please call early so that if I get somebody that has an extended amount of time that they want to talk or talk about these issues, we can. Nation of Gandis on the internet, welcome to our KPFT 90.1 FM version of Politics Done Right. Thank you so kindly for being here. Again, folks, title of the show today, Humane Democracy Will Die with 1,000 Cuts as we further monetize survival. Our economic system is like a snake that must eat itself to survive as long as possible until it ultimately consumes itself. It's deeper than the end of a humane democracy. It's catastrophic death. We have to discuss that. But before I get on that as well, I want to remind you that we have a new show coming up at 2 o'clock. I think I'm told it's every day of the week, 2 o'clock every day of the week, 2 afternoons. It's called R&R with Revcott and Richards, okay? But anyhow, it seems like we have somebody already, before I get into the blog, wants to talk. So let's go ahead and say, hello, Kyle. How art thou doing this morning?
Hello, I am doing well. Thank you.
Go ahead, my friend. What would you like to add to our discussion? Or before we even start our essay today, what would you like to talk about?
I called earlier. I figured out the discussion is about politics. So I got information about politics and government and things like that. I was at a convenience store on Clay Road. I was at a convenience store on Clay Road, Exxon, and they are trying to ban me from the store just because I did borrow some money from a store next to me, but
let me tell you something, let me just say one
thing. That was all, and
let me ask you to do this because I don't do that sort of stuff on air. So just go ahead and drop a line to info@politicsdoneright.com. That is info.
Can I speak about something else?
No, not right now. We'll. Oh, what else do you want to speak about, sir?
Yes, sir. Politics. I am interested in becoming president.
All right. Well, let me tell you this. You can everybody, if you're over 30 years, I don't remember, 32 years of age, you can run for president. So go ahead and fill out the paperwork. Thank you so kindly for calling in to Politics Done Right, my friend. All right. Continuing with the essay title. Humane democracy will die with 1,000 cuts as we further monetize survival. Our economic system is like a snake that must eat itself to survive as long as possible until it ultimately consumes itself. It's cheaper than, or rather, it's deeper than the end of a humane democracy. It's catastrophic death. Folks, give us a call at 713-526-5738 as you listen to what we're going to talk about. And don't forget, again, hit the number 2 to come on in. 713-526-5738 and hit the number 2 to get on air. As I start, got to take that out of my mouth. This morning, as I prepared for the program, I replayed the mini documentary titled Legalize Democracy, which reinforced why many of us are incessant in promoting the truthful narrative that our economic system, by design and visible outcomes, is a threat to the humane survival of most. I was an executive producer along with Pamela Brown, Daniel Lee, Caitlin Saposhi-Velnap, and for this documentary. And a friend of mine, his name is Dennis Trainer Jr., directed and wrote that documentary. I did several interviews in the documentary with activists from all over the country. And I tell you what, as I listened to it again, it is frightening how much has changed from bad to worse. A lot of people would say it's amazing how much has changed. Things must have gotten better because we've had activists in the streets. We've had Occupy Wall Street. We've had all these different groups. We had the 99%. We had all these groups during that time, the 2010 time, 2011, 12, 13. We did this documentary in 2013. Again, just go to, if you want to see the documentary, it's I think 28 minutes long. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and I have the link to it in there. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and the title of the documentary is Legalize Democracy. I want you. We spent a lot of time really organizing that documentary into a form to show folks exactly what our economy was about, from the jail system to the criminal justice system to the judiciary system, and how it all intertwined into this great bit of politics and corporatocracy. But it's important that people see that because it gives another perspective. But continuing, it's no accident why things continue to deteriorate. It is the monetization of everything. Worse, said monetization slows down progress as it enriches the few and the expense of most of us. Does that sound dire? It should. It is. And we have to understand why. Look, Ray from Third Ward, come on in.
Yes, sir. I see you spitting hot fire again today.
Yes, sir.
Egberto, so
we
I'm
must.
not gonna hold you.
Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, just to expound on the topic that you're going to be saying today. I mean, basically, they are trying to price poor people out of the market, specifically in the housing market. Because
Right.
I have a friend of mine that's very close, and he, unfortunately, when I was talking about the magic school bus theory, I was thinking of him because he's an impacted person who had been in the criminal justice system. That's where it's really prevalent in our criminal justice system.
Right.
And basically, because he had been through the criminal justice system, now it limits his possibilities for work and for housing. And now that they went up in the housing market, he's down on his luck because he can't even find affordable housing
right
at a comparable price for where he was, and his landlord is telling him he has to move because of his previous background issue. And it's like he feels like, if he was in a better situation economically, he could afford to live somewhere comfortable, but instead he may have to downgrade to an area that he doesn't feel safe, or he'll have to move back in with family. And he has a sick mother.
Ray, that these are issues that we have to tackle as a society. People who've committed crimes and they paid their dues, rehabilitated, and come back in society, you can't ask them to pay for it with lower jobs. If somebody's rehabilitated, here's the funny part about it, Ray, that gets me a lot about our criminal justice system. I know a lot of criminals, and I'm coming to you next. I know a lot of criminals, Ray, right? And these
Right.
and the reason I call them criminals is because they are doing a lot of things other people have been convicted to and that are going to pay for the rest of your life with jobs, housing, etc. But these folks go on with their lives. I was speaking about the last show. We criminalize a lot of these street thugs that pop a cap into somebody with a gun, but that guy that pop a cap into his wife and later on is rehabilitated because he gets some kind of a probation with a sealed record, everything is okay with him and all's good. We have to have a society that is compassionate. We have to have a society that's not only, people think, if you treat people like animals, they'll behave like animals. You treat them like human beings, they'll behave like human beings. I've walked in with folks that look like they would slice my neck and just showed them some love. And you'd be
Yeah,
amazing
I mean,
what that
you could
does.
see a guy with a tattoo on his face, and he could be the greatest cook you ever met, and you want to, eat up his plate of food. But
Exactly.
the thing is, people have to have a chance to pay their debt to society in
Yes.
full without carrying a balance.
And
And
you are absolutely right. And one of the things that I want to promote with the kind of talk that we do here and the kind of essays that I write for the show is just that. People think that the heavy hammer is the way to solve every problem. There are a few people that are psychopaths. I mean, from Donald Trump being a psychopath that would kill,
he's the
that
worst
would have
guy.
others kill for him, to the actual killers, psychopaths. There are psychopaths out there. However, there are a lot of people that they've just had a bad thing. They've grown up in the wrong family or whatever, and somehow they're brought in and they're shown that they're worthy and they have purpose and they behave differently. And this is not coming from some bleeding heart liberal, which I am, but it's not. It is. It
That's
is
why we
just
love
how
you,
humanity
Alberto.
is.
You're a progressive. Don't even call yourself a liberal.
Actually, you're
That's
correct, sir.
actually- Yeah.
You're correct. You're absolutely correct, sir. You. Thank you for correcting me on that one. You're absolutely correct. Anything else, Ray, you want to add before I go to Anand?
No, I just want to say, just keep up. I'm sure I'm going to appreciate the message you're about to bring. And Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year, brother, and I think you will. Thank you so kindly. You have a great rest of your day, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Anand. Anand, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, I happen to be in town, and I turn on the radio, and I hear this crazy guy on the radio. I said,
Is this
I gotta
Anand
talk to
Bhatt?
this guy.
Oh, my brother, how you doing, sir? Doctor, oh, what happened? Hey, Anand, call us back. I don't know what happened, Miss Dr. Bhatt. I don't know what happened, but give us a call back, and we'll take you on right away, okay? So I'm sorry for that. Every now and then we run into a few phone problems, so as soon as we get that taken care of, we'll get that taken care of. All right, anyhow, let me continue with the program until we get Anand back on the air. And it looks like he's back. I think he's back. Oops, trouble again. I think we're having some phone problems. I tell you what, as soon as we clean up the phone problem, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get back to Anand. Anand, are you there again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, we were having a few issues. Go ahead, Anand.
Okay, I don't know. Two points I wanted to make. I don't know if you've heard. Have you heard that mass incarceration in the inner city per capita has actually leveled off, if not slightly declined? And the new frontier of mass incarceration is rural white Appalachian areas like Kentucky and West Virginia. And that's where per capita you see the greatest increase, which then changes the narrative of mass incarceration to being actually mass incarceration by poverty and not by race necessarily.
I have no doubt about those numbers that you're telling me about because I think it's almost implicit, right? Especially given that what used to be the crack thing in the inner cities is now the amphetamine or whatever that drug is that they take a lot of in Appalachia and these areas. But not only that, let me just say this, Anand. It has always been an economic thing. After all, O.J. Simpson got off, right? So it has always been economic, and while race plays a heavy role in it, it has always had a large. A lot of people are going to give me hell for this, but it has always had a large socio-economic component to it. So if you go to Houston, who are the people that can get loans and bail more easily? It answers the social part about it. And when it comes to economics, well, if you look at it if you break it down by what people classify as race, and notice I say what people classify as race because I'm anti-race, but you'll see why the prisons are fuller of people of color than anybody else. Go ahead, Anand.
That's it. I was just saying that what I think the race component, if you look at the incarceration, is only 10 or 20% if you adjust for poverty is racial.
Right.
And especially if the new frontier is the rural white areas.
Right.
Kentucky and West Virginia, and it's leveled off in Chicago and Cleveland.
But
that tells you it's a money part.
But there's something that you didn't mention there, right? I used to tell folks, you remember when racism was in vogue, right? And people, and people of color got more abuse than anybody else, etc., so that the corporatocracy could make a buck. I always said, you know what? What happens when you run out of these people? Which is what's starting to happen, which is why the new frontier, as you mentioned, is Appalachia. You lock up all the lockable people up in the inner cities, etc. What's the next frontier going to be to improve the bottom line on these private prisons or prisons run by private entities?
Yep, that's absolutely true.
Now,
and then the other point I wanted to make was the reason things aren't improving or equality has been stunted is if we go back historically, the liberal reform democratic movement was originally in opposition to royalty. And as royalty has disappeared, and in America, the second royalty was the slave owners. After the Second American Revolution, which is the other word for the Civil War, as the inherited wealth has disappeared, the sort of liberal democratic revolution has died down, and I think there's no oppositional figure that they have. So this is what a lot of research has suggested, that the fight for equality is stagnant because these enemies are no longer there.
Yeah, well, you know what?
It's a different enemy now.
Let me tell you something. The enemies are still there. What I call the new monarchy, in my opinion, is still there, and it's called the corporatocracy. And the leaders of our corporations, I don't know how much different they behave than the monarchy or the feudalist system or any like that. I mean, they live in a different atmosphere than we are in right now. And Dr. Bat, and I know you know that because I read some of the stuff that you've written before.
All right, that's all I have to say. Good luck.
Thank you. You have a great day, sir. By the way, you said you're back in town?
I'm in town, but I'll be out. I have to head back tonight.
Okay, well, look, you have a safe travels, okay?
All right, then. Bye.
Take care now. Bye-bye. All right, folks, thank you for that, Dr. Bad. Anyway, continuing with the program. It is no accident why things continue to deteriorate. It is a monetization of everything. Worse, said monetization slows down progress as it enriches the few and the expense of most of us. Does that sound dire? It should. It is. And before I continue, I want to say this to everybody that's listening. I try to present problems, but I don't only try to present problems or present our current reality. I always have what I consider to be what we should be doing to get past where we are. We are not impotent, and it's not like we can't solve these problems. All these problems that I discuss are really in our hands, but we have to decide to smarten ourselves up. We have to decide to educate ourselves. We have to decide that if we want change, the only way this occurs is if we go out there and we still have the vote. It's probably going to go away after a few cycles. When the vote won't go away, but the real democratic vote is probably going to go away after a few cycles if we don't get with the program. So we still have the power to change. Continuing. My electrical contract for my home expired in August. My electrical bill has subsequently doubled. These companies claim that energy cost increases were to blame. Of course, as I pointed out in several articles, including one on the Muslim TV network, there was never, ever an energy shortage. Ever. Take it to the bank. And I would dare I have a wager out here. Any executive of any oil corporation, I'd like to invite them into our station so that we could discuss these issues. So if any executive at any oil company right now want to dispute what I just said, I invite you to have a civil dialogue right here at our company studios at KPFT FM, or I should say our community studios at KPFT 90.1 FM. So, of course, as I pointed out on several articles, there was never an energy shortage. It was legalized theft by the oil companies. Many solar panel installers are using these increased electric bills to encourage Americans to put solar panels on their homes under the pretext that it will save them money. And I agree, it should save them money. Not only that, but we should have panels on our homes. If the price of installation and of the panels are fair, it should save a lot of money, especially in states like Texas. Our government provides a 26% tax credit for solar panels. I mean our federal government, that is. Unfortunately, I have found that most solar panel companies are no different than oil companies. Your price is fungible and bears no resemblance to the actual cost of the panels or installation. There are few on top who profit immensely at our expense. The companies first lure you by pointing out that your upfront cost is zero, and then they purport that you will save money even with their inflated costs. Look, the person came to my home. They wanted all of my electrical bills for a year so that they purportedly could add up all the kilowatt usage I had for the year. And then they wanted to look at the actual price per kilowatt that I paid for the bill. And somehow their calculations come out that the bill, when you count the amount of money you're going to save from getting energy plus some that you won't buy back, but you can bank to the company who buys it if they buy it, will somehow come out to save you a few bucks a month, right? So you're going to have this investment to save you a few bucks a month. I mean, if it were real, it would be great, right? But you know, the numbers are everything. As an engineer, that's all I think about. That's all I want to talk about, numbers. Worse, however, is that the salespersons with me and others I have spoken to make assumptions about how gullible they think you are. And that's the most difficult thing to deal with. These guys walk in here, they're salespeople, right? The salesperson comes before they send any engineer out to look at your roof or anything. They take a picture of your roof from the satellite, and after they take a picture of the roof from your satellite, they map the amount of panels they can put on your roof, and then they give you a quotation as far as what needs to be done. Okay, so all of this sounds good so far. But the pricing is dependent on how gullible they think you are. And I stand by that. How gullible you are. Now, I'm going to put a break point here. Remember, we're at the point in the essay where they're coming to the house to determine what solar panels will cost. I digress a minute to take a call. Johnny, come on in.
Oh, I heard shh that time, so I guess you fix your soundboard?
No, I don't know. We just have great engineers in there. Today we have the one and only. Who do we have in it? Come on, I want you to talk.
This is Tori.
And?
Howdy.
Come on, you got to say more than howdy, Tori.
Well, Happy New Year.
Okay,
it's all rainbows and unicorns. So
that's good.
Pop a cork.
Okay, that's good. How you doing, Johnny? Talk to me.
Well, I'm doing a little bit better now. This is an advisory from one listener, supporter of KPFT, to all others,
yes,
including those who like to call into this station with a hidden agenda, i.e. somebody who may present a statistic to you on the chance that they think that they won't get fact-checked.
Okay.
Specifically, I'm talking about when people call in with a smile in their voice. You can tell. Usually it's white guys. And they have this nasally pitched quality to them, and they sound contentious in their tone, and they will point out to you something that you can't necessarily fact-check unless you happen to have knowledge to contradict it in real time. Mm-hmm. So I will advise you trolls out there, when you present information on these radio airwaves, be advised that if people like me are listening, I will fact-check you, either in real time that same day or the following day or the following week. So don't be calling into this station and telling us about how, arrest. What did he say the earlier caller to you?
Anand,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Johnny, let me just defend Anand for a while. Anand is actually a friend of mine, doctor. Let me explain what he was trying to say because it's easy to misunderstand what he's saying. And notice that he agrees with that. He didn't disagree with the racial component at all, as far as incarcerations at all. But what he said is really, really true, and that is the next growth part in private prisons and all of that has to go through Appalachia because they've exhausted people of color in the cities, etc. So he wasn't trying to whitewash
Okay.
what occurs in prison.
Then I will apologize right here and now if that is the case. If that is what he said.
That is the case. I can guarantee you
because
that is
I
the
was
case.
in and out of the garage and I couldn't hear the
Yeah,
entire conversation.
yeah.
And being liberal, I am ready, willing, and able
And
to
Johnny,
admit-
I remember, Johnny, look, let me tell you something, brother. I know who you are. And let me just tell you, I am very, I know that guys like you are listening to the show. And so thank you. Thank you. But anyway, what else do you want to add, sir?
Well, the springboard on his observation, if it's true and I don't dispute it, that says that we need to end private for-profit
Of
prisons.
course,
Plain
that's
and
what it
simple.
says. Yes,
Exactly.
you're right.
They've drained their resource in the black community and Latino community, so now they're going to go after Native Americans and Appalachians.
Actually, let me tell you, you have to understand this, right? And this is what I try to tell people, and then I'm going to get back with the solar panels. But this is what I tell people, Johnny. Race is just race and racism is just a tool. That's all. It's a tool.
That's right. It's a tool for classism.
Exactly. It's a tool for classism. It's a tool for few to make money. If you ever think that Oprah Winfrey will take my side over Donald Trump's side in the aggregate on economic policy, you are dreaming.
Really?
Yes, you would
Has
be
she
dreaming.
really fallen that far?
No, that's not. It's not about her falling. I love Oprah. She's a good woman. I love Oprah. What I'm saying is what we've learned about economic systems and what we've learned about all these things, the preeminence of the way our economic system function is more important to the billionaire than anything else. And they are of the mindset that they are doing the right thing. Okay? What we do here is to correct that mindset. Okay? So it's not that Oprah is bad. It's not that Bill Gates is bad or Warren Buffett are bad. They're not bad people at all. They're just victims of the indoctrination that we've gotten from birth of what an economic system like ours is to do.
Well, I have to push back a little bit on
Sure,
that.
please
These
do.
People are grown adults.
Yes.
They have resources, both financial and time, which a lot of working class people don't have.
True.
So I can excuse working class who call into KPFT and other independent media with an agenda because it's infused in them. They're socialized.
Yeah.
Whereas people like Jeff Bezos and who's the other guy who I criticized most recently a few weeks ago? The Twitter guy.
Right. You're talking about Musk, Elon Musk.
Yeah, Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk. These people, they're adults, and they have no excuse. They have all the time and resource in the world to educate themselves.
Johnny?
I have no sympathy for them.
Let me tell you why I do have sympathy for them, right? And that is because of my own failings, all right? For a long time, I lived a life where I had certain prejudices that were stupid that I shouldn't have had. And it wasn't until somebody actually sat me down, and I think like you, we are fairly smart, until somebody sit me down and hammered into my head. And that's why I do programs like this, right? I want to be that empathetic person who says, well, look, you can be blinded by your environment. And I think these people are blinded by their environment and the indoctrination that we've repaid. In fact, we have a lot of poor people that support the economic system as it stands right now, even as it's screwing them, right?
We have Elon Musk
Yes.
telling his employees that they can go his way or the highway.
There you go.
They can either become serfs, literally living
Yes.
at the office all day and night, or they can go find another job.
There you go.
That's not enlightenment.
That's not. I
That's
agree.
prejudice. That's corporate industrial oligarchic mindset.
I agree.
And I don't excuse that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying a lot of these people really are blind to what they're doing. Now, I tell my audience the same thing, both my on-air and internet audience, and that is, once they get a chance, if I were to have an audience with an Oprah or a Bill Gates, I likely would never get one, but if I were to have an audience with them, I would present my case. If their behavior stays the same, and it's not my case, it is the case of progressive. I would present the progressive case as it should be, right? Now, if they don't really see what they do and how money is accumulated what I call unworthily, then at that point we have tried to enlighten. And at that point, that person becomes what did Hillary call him again?
Deplorables.
So,
But let me close with a rhetorical question.
Yes,
You
sir.
can answer it if you want or not.
Yes,
We're a nation of 330 million people.
yes.
Do you think that besides you and me having this conversation on FM radio in Houston,
Yes.
that other people, other activists in this country have not attempted to communicate and, quote-unquote, enlighten people like Musk and Bezos?
I don't think.
Of course.
Wait. Let me tell you. I want to answer that. I do want to answer that. The answer is no. And let me tell you what I mean. People like you and I don't get hearings. Okay, we have to bird dog. We have to do all those kinds of things. And the reason why
Yeah, Benjamin Bird Dog's really good.
Yes. So what
She puts yellow crime scene police
Yes.
tape around the White House when George Bush was in office.
And she did it to
She and her
Obama
volunteers
too.
show up at meetings
Yes.
and with big old billboards.
Yes. So the thing about it is that is what we don't get hearings where we can have a civil conversation. We have to always look. We always have to force ourselves into the door because progressives are a clear and present danger to the economic system that abuses people. That's it. Thank you
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she does an excellent job of tweeting these people.
Yes.
But do they listen? No. They try to ban libs.
Yeah.
So that tells you how open-minded they are.
There you go. Brother Johnny.
I think I just made your case.
Yes, you did. Let me tell you something, Johnny. Johnny. I think since we've been back on air live, this is the first time I'm hearing from you, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you for calling in, sir.
Well, I've got to do some more rat killing over here, so to speak, so I got to get back to my duties.
All right, get back to your duties, Johnny. You have a great
Where
one,
in Caroline? I try to look on Google Map, and Google Map is uncooperative. Where on Caroline? What's the cross street for the news studio?
It's there's San Jack. It's in the area of San Jack, and I don't remember the other street. Wheeler, I think. It's between Wheeler and San Jack, I believe.
Oh, that's near downtown.
Yeah. It is.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It's available. People can visit you with bus routing.
Of course.
Not train, because this is not New York.
Of course. And you can step up here anytime, brother. You have a good one, okay?
Okay, stay safe. Keep your eyes open. And remember, those morons who showed up January 6th of the year before last,
Yes.
they still running around, they still got guns, and they still think they've got the right to vote better than you than me.
Imagine that. Thank you, brother. You have a great day, Johnny.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. Back to solar panels. Unfortunately, I have found that most solar panel companies are no different than oil companies. And yes, nation of Gandhis, I know that there are good ones out there. The companies first lure you by pointing out that your upfront cost is zero, and then they purport that they will save you money. Worse, however, is that the salesperson will, with me and others I've spoken to, make assumptions about how gullible they think you are. After expressing my horror of the pilfer, okay, I had one obscene quote for $90,000 that became a $60,000 offer to put panels on my home. Ridiculous. A friend of mine had just done his for $16,000. Okay? The salesman said the manager decided to cut into his profit so they could drop it from $90,000 to $60,000. I laughed, you know. I mean, it was amazing. I then got another quote for $23,000 for a similar installation from another company. According to them, each of these installations would have me save about $50 per month over a 20-year life. As an engineer, I only believe in numbers. A back of the napkin analysis made it clear I was only replacing between 55 and 47% of my utility electricity use, respectively. Every rooftop should have electrical panels to store or sell its excess generation. It should be a national policy. The electric generation capacity would be enormous, unfortunately. As with all critical resources, when we turn anything required for our survival to market vultures, a few make huge profits, and it prevents the proliferation, in this case, solar panels that could save the environment, reduce personal costs, and much more. I want to expand on that paragraph a bit. Look, think about this. Every salesperson and the managers and all of that that comes into the fold there wants a big cut of every sale they have. So they may spend, I don't know, 30, 40, 50% of whatever they quote you on hardware and installation, and everything else go to some fat cat who wants to make a lot of money at your expense. How do I know that? The fact that that installation could have gone from $90,000 to $60,000 was a $30,000 difference. And what did the guy claim? Oh, he decided to take less profit. Well, hell, how much profit was in that installation on one home? Now, people may say, well, you know, if somebody's willing to pay that kind of money for it, well, what he has done is he has frozen a lot of people out of the possibility of putting panels on their homes. As soon as some people hear these kinds of prices, they said it's not for me, even though the idea is this. I put panels on your house, it's financed, no money down or anything like that. And since the amount of electricity is going to be less than you're paying monthly right now for electrical bill, instead of paying for the electrical bill, you'll be paying for the panels. So they kind of calibrate that. They know what you can afford with your electrical bill currently. They calibrate it, and then they give you that. They try to make whatever your bill is going to be similar to what they're going to charge you with a few bucks less. And you say, oh, I save $50 a month. It doesn't go that way. The idea is I don't want to save $50 a month. I want to save everything a month and have the least cost that it costs for the panels. That is what every American should feel. It's a new technology. What we're having is not the consumer of the technology profiting, but the person who sells the technology profiting. Think about that. I want you to understand that again. What they're doing is new technology, better efficiencies, and it should really save the American people money. But it's not saving the American people a lot of money. It is saving the environment as they install, but the profits, the spoils of the new technology go to the few. That is our economic system. In other words, the wealth isn't spread based on the savings you got from the panels. People, these are concepts within our economic system that must be understood. A new electric car comes out and you think you're going to be saving a lot in gas. They increase the prices of everything else so that the same people who made the money on giving you cheap oil that should be cheap are going to giving you batteries that cost the end of the world, the electricity. I mean, we have to understand that this system is predicated on just a few being able to take advantage of the many as they enrich themselves. This example that occurred, I brought it just to show you it happens to everybody over and over again, no matter where you're at, no matter what you add to your home. The attempt is you pay to enrich somebody else. I don't mind that person making a profit at all. I do not mind that. I believe in the profit motive. But that is not profit. That is saying I'm using you as my cudgel. I'm using you as the widget. You are the one that are bringing us the money. Understand that. Lee Grant on the internet says, Egberto, Texas deregulated retail electricity service not long ago. This allowed me to shop various companies and lock in low 3 rate for remains of 3 years. Ain't capitalism great? Let me tell you where you will be screwed, because I took advantage of that as well. It's the re-up that costs you. But let me also talk to you about deregulation. Deregulation of the electrical grid makes no sense whatsoever. Think about this. They try to separate generators from retailers. So retailers go ahead and they aggregate generation to decide what your electrical price is going to be. That's an extra layer that costs not the generator money, not the retailer money, but you. You pay for that deregulation. If you could have removed that middleman out of the generators, in other words, if we had private generators, if we had the distribution system that's private, or rather the distribution system that's controlled by we the people. In other words, you can have a ton of private generators out there and a distribution system that's controlled by we the people. The private generators can go ahead and sell whatever at whatever cost they have. Yes, Shakula, we're live right now. They can sell at whatever. And when it goes through those pipes and come to your house, you don't have to pay the middleman's price. If you have 50 electrical companies selling retail to you, from generators, what's their purpose? What is the purpose of putting a middleman into between you and the generator other than making a profit? It makes no sense. And when I say that our minds are screwed by the economic system, that's what I mean. You have power companies that generate electricity, private. I don't mind if those are private, okay? They generate electricity. There's a grid where how the power gets onto the system. I don't want that to be private. And let me tell you why I don't want the distribution system to be private. I don't want no failure of one entity controlling the distribution. So therefore, let's say we had a governmental control of that private grid. All those people that have power throw the electricity onto the grid. And then whatever you sell all of this to, you get an aggregation, and then it comes out at the other end, no middleman. But they have you believing that you need a middleman to make a few $1 million, and somehow you're not going to pay for that. People, wise up. Wise up. All right. Every rooftop should have electrical panels to store or sell its excess generation. It should be national policy. And I'll digress at national policy to bring Adam into the fold. Adam, come on in.
I was actually calling to ask about, because you're a software guy,
Yes.
from what I understand.
Yes, I am.
And not necessarily what anyone else is thinking, but what's going on with Musk and Twitter and that how it's clearly going to dissolve probably, and why there isn't some sort of public square that's a little more free range that isn't maybe in the private sector to begin with.
Thank you for answering that, and you give me a real opportunity to tell folks about a platform called Mastodon. And
I've heard of this.
Yeah,
okay.
Please, folks, any one of you that's on Twitter right now, also go to Mastodon and just Google Mastodon, Mostondon. All right, Mastodon. All right, maybe Mastodon. Just Google Mastodon and create an account. There are many places where you can create an account. It's a distributed network system where individuals can create their own domain, and it interacts with the whole Mastodon network. I'm not an expert on that, but I created my own Mastodon account as well in case Twitter goes out the door. But that is it. It is set up exactly like you just articulated, Adam.
Really?
Yes.
So another one is so Facebook, and I don't know where they are with their banning and suspending of people really, because I'm not on those sort of platforms. Right. I do watch you on YouTube particularly, and I've gotten off of social media over a decade ago as the Tea Party started rising, and Facebook got really political. Then I felt actually. Outside of that, when it comes to let's say like the gaming community where it's a little more mainstream and there's going to be children and things like that, people get banned for, extended periods of time in order to, for more than sometimes it'll be 3 days for a minor offense, but then 21 days or a month or something. You get banned from your online service that you pay for. Because of your behavior and the way that you talk to people on it. And that seems to curb some of it a little bit, where people, when they do come back, are at least more careful at first until they get comfortable again and start ranting and raving. And maybe Facebook, and I know they have suspended Donald Trump and Musk has let him back on and so forth, but whatever that leads to or doesn't seem to really quell the actual problem when it comes to the higher-ups and elitist type people. But, I mean, for normal people that, talk violent and get people stirred up and things like that, that really I feel, because that's the community that when people are individually angry and hateful, that's those sort of hate speeches, it reverberates.
Yeah, no, I don't. Let me be very honest with you, right? Because I think the way they do banning is too subjective. I think things that I think should be banned too often get by, and things that not should be. Let me tell you what I think, because I think it's above my pay grade. I have a few videos that I put out that I got community violations for simply talking about important issues on our economy, and I've gotten So I don't really know what their policies are, because again, it makes no sense half of the time. But there's something that says if you know hate when you see it, you know the isms when you see them. And I wish more often it would be placed out there. So, I mean, I think it's important. Look, it's above my pay grade. If I had the answers as far as who should be banned, when, or what, I'd probably be a millionaire already. But the truth of the matter is, I think we need a lot of research there as far as how to best handle that. And while I know what I'd like to hear, what I'd like to see, and what I don't, and I don't think any of my stuff should have been bannable. Again, it's above my pay grade, so I have to be humble right there.
Yeah, you're a very patient and rational man, I must admit. From watching your show over the past couple of years, you sure are very calm.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. Anything else you want to add before I run and finish my essay?
I wanted to ask the question. You were talking about electrical grid, and that seems
Yes.
to be quite an issue these days that people are targeting. I mean, is this going to be our next war sort of thing? Some sort of
it's a
genetic-
right-wing disruption. A right-wing
Right.
disruption. What they want
I've
to do.
even heard that came out of Russia at
Yeah.
this point. And but I mean, outside of that, though, with our it's very vulnerable, and we are. You were already talking about that, though. So go ahead.
It's vulnerable, but you know what? Think about this, Adam, and this goes into the topic that I have today. If we had policy that put everybody's rooftop is a generator. Everybody in America's
Right.
rooftop is a generator. If we decide to have a proactive government that did not work on the whims of the economic system, right? We could actually say we are going to have a master plan, a Marshall Plan, and this Marshall Plan is where our government, we the people, are going to put panels on every home, create a network of generators on every single home, every apartment, every rooftop is going to have panels. And then we go ahead and redistribute that. Maybe we have different companies redistribute that electricity, and we should be working on tech. It's not on technology. Technology is already there. It is policy. We should be working.
You know what you said? It sounds communist, even, or socialist. Where the communities will have to generate and produce our own power that is even we have a plethora of, and even a bountiful amount of. But Sweden and so forth do these sort of things, and we're so scared to do them because it's socialist or sounds socialist in a way, and it's not.
Here's
it's
the thing,
not.
though.
It's like having a garden in your backyard.
Right,
it's
Adam.
the same thing.
I thank you for saying that, because that is exactly the way it should be thought of. Having a garden in your backyard. Hey, Adam,
Right.
I want to address some of the people online and then finish
No
the
problem.
essay.
Thank you for having me. I've always wanted to call and talk to you for some reason.
Brother,
and I've been
thank
watching
you.
your show for years.
Well,
Thank
look,
you so
this is
much
your-
for having me.
This is your show. You can call anytime. Thank you so kindly for calling in, sir.
You too. Take care. Happy
Have
New
a
Year.
wonderful day. Hey, welcome aboard Eric Hayes, Lee Grant, Bruce Pollard, Deborah Myers, Melanie Keelan, Shakula's hairstylist, and everybody else that I probably missed. Nation of Gandhi. Anyway, Bruce says, did you mention the Texas limit of any crediting solar power you generate that is equal to what you use on a monthly basis instead of also buying the excess of all you generate? What Bruce is saying is, and Texas has a law, you can't sell back you only get a month's credit, and that's it. In other words, they are trying to disincentivize using solar power in our great state of Texas. So I just mentioned it. That came courtesy of Bruce Pollard. And Lee Grant says, solar allows one to prepay for electricity with a break-even point at 7 to 8 years. At that point, you haven't saved a dime, and you are the proud owner of expensive, obsolete technology. That actually is a very good statement that you've said there, and it's one of the reasons why I contend we need national policy on these panels. So what you're saying there, Lee Grant, makes a lot of sense. I can't disagree with what you've just said. After 8 to 10 years, the technology is going to be way advanced, more efficient, etc. And there you are stuck with that big bill. That's why, immediately, it's funny. Roberto was over at the house yesterday, and I was telling him that I had these quotes coming in, and Roberto said, hey, no, don't do those panels like that. I said, I didn't plan to. I wanted to see what these things look like. I need to talk about these things, right? But anyhow, let's continue with the essay. Every rooftop should have electrical panels to store or sell its excess generation. It should be national policy. The electrical generation capacity would be enormous. Unfortunately, as with all critical resources, when we turn anything required for our survival to market vultures, a few make huge profits, and it prevents the proliferation of, in this case, solar panels that could save the environment, reduce personal costs, and much more. People die in our healthcare system not because we do not have the resources to save them. They die because the for profit healthcare system exchanges their life for money. Families are destroyed because we choose to minimize a necessary safety net at the expense of developing children's lives. An economic system cannot be fair if the things we must have are profit based. Healthcare, energy, and beneficial national policy options should not be for profit. It is inhumane and creates disparities that have little to do with one's worth or meritoriousness. I believe wholeheartedly in free enterprise with a strong social safety net. Every American should be able to own their own business, compete, and make a fair profit. Those who decide to work for someone else deserve a livable wage. A company that cannot pay a livable wage is not a business but a hobby. But some portions of our economy where our survival is at stake should not be at the whim of a few for profit companies. End of essay. Folks, I hope that you listen, because I take calls in between my essays, sometimes we get a bit disjointed, but I think that is a nature that I like. But here's the thing. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and go ahead and you can read the whole essay as a whole in the full context of the essay. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Now, I still have time for a couple of calls. 713-526, actually about 3 calls. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. For the sake of expediency, I try to take the calls in between the essay, but you guys decide. Do you prefer that I do these the point of the show first and then bring the calls in, or do what we're doing right now? I want to make sure that the flavor is what you all prefer to hear. I can keep all of this straight in my head. I want to make sure that those that are listening to the show as well keep it straight in your head. Online, you guys can tell me your thoughts as well. Let's see. Eric Hay says, natural gas, but they have their green hands in that too by screwing up the prices of energy. It all but has been accomplished. I don't think so. I think if you're honest about it, we understand where we need to go with our energy system. Again, welcome aboard as well, Deborah. She says Mastodon is spelled with a Mastodon. Again, Mastodon is Mastodon. I try, as we talk about economic issues, not to let anyone believe that I don't believe we should have a private sector. I strongly believe in having a strong private sector. But I also believe in having a strong public sector. That is the only way every single American understands or ensures that they are protected from any one large entity. Our corporations today are simply too large. And in being as large as they are, if you go ahead and watch the documentary that I said, we produced when I was at Move to Amend, it's called Legalize Democracy. It included people from all stripes of life, including David Cobb, who ran for president of the United States. All these folks were in our documentary. And they bring the judiciary system, the criminal justice system, the economic system, and put it all together so that everyone could understand exactly what is happening in our country. And the truth of the matter is the results are evident for us all. When you go to the store and see those high prices, that isn't because of some bad thing you've done or some bad thing any American has done. When you go to the gas station and see that, when you go to your bank and have to pay more on interest rates, it's just another pilfer. whenever those interests, and in fact, one of the things that I want all Americans to do is to go ahead and start going to their Congress people and saying we must change the way our Federal Reserve System works, because right now we are pilfering the American people with these interest rates. All of these things are tied together, including the subject that I discussed. They're all tied together. So, marching orders now. I said that I always like to end the program not on a note that says all these bad things are happening as if we are impotent to solve them. We're not impotent to solve them. We can solve all these problems by engaging. And I don't only mean engaging your politician. I mean engaging your fellow American. I mean talking to your fellow American about these topics that we discuss in the tone of conciliation, in the tone of dialogue, not in you're a right winger, you're a left winger, you're dumb, you're stupid, none of that. If we can learn how to speak to each other, we will not allow those other folks to get in between us. I think I got a minute left. We will not allow those to get in between us at all. So the changes that we need to make, as I discussed it in here, having policy that put panels on every roof, having policies that give good care to kids, health care to kids, etc. We can make that change, but you must vote in primaries. You must vote for progressives talking about these issues. And I don't care about parties. You must talk to people about these issues and elect people that believe in these issues that are going to make your life better. Look, folks, I thank you guys for listening to the program. Please tell everybody we're back on air, KPFT 90.1 FM Houston. Also go to politicsdoneright.com where you can see all our programs. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!